truth about the Taijimen case. Taiwan Supreme Court found Taijimen not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to revoke the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Taijimen. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the offending authority's conscience? Where are justice and human rights? What is the truth about the Taijimen case? Taiwan Supreme Court found Taijimen not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges. The National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to revoke the tax bill. The National Tax Bureau illegally auctioned off the sacred land of Taijimen. The land was illegally taken into state ownership. Where is the offending authority's conscience? Where are justice and human rights? The righteous people are united with conscience to defend justice, human rights, and peace. The righteous people are united with conscience to defend justice, human rights, and peace.
In Taiwan, we at Bitter Winter saw at work the Taliban of the National Tax Bureau or Taliban of the Administrative Enforcement Agency, testify year-long persecution of a peaceful spiritual movement in a democratic country such as Taiwan. The Taijimen case is internationally exemplary and important, and yes, we plan to continue our campaign about it. Our voice will not be silenced until the voice of justice will speak and solve the case.
A warm welcome to everyone to our seminar regarding the Taijimen tax case, and also commemorating August 22nd, the International Day commemorating the victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief. Even though freedom of religion and belief is a constitutional right in most modern democracies, governments often trample upon these rights, and it is up to the citizens themselves to fight for their own rights. On this solemn day, we must remember all the brave people who fought for their freedom and were persecuted, arrested, and even lost their lives for adhering to their religion or belief. We must let their stories inspire us to march forward courageously and unequivocally demand our human rights. So today we have gathered together a panel of experts and also Taijimen Dizi testimonial regarding their own harrowing experiences of the Taijimen tax case injustices. So first we would like to welcome our keynote speaker, Ms. Katrina Lantos-Svet, the president of the Lantos Foundation.
Greetings. My name is Dr. Katrina Lantos-Svet, and I'm so pleased to be able to join you for this important online conference. I had the privilege of serving as the chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. And most recently, I was honored to join Ambassador Sam Brownback as the co-chair of the Earth Summit 2021, which took place in July in Washington, D.C., with over 1,000 participants from around the world. Those of us who have been engaged in the cause of religious freedom for many years welcome this opportunity to address an issue that is near and dear to our hearts on this International Day commemorating victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief. It is particularly appropriate that we should be meeting right now as the world watches with great alarm the unfolding takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban. The violence and brutality that characterized Taliban rule in the past is a powerful reminder to us all that freedom of religion and conscience is a fundamental human right, one that respects the individual autonomy and freedom of each one of us. Those who seek to impose their beliefs on others through violence or intimidation are enemies of religious freedom, and we must have the courage and determination to stand up to them. When the world adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948, they included among the inviolable rights that all humans are entitled to the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Despite the clear, broad, and inclusive language of Article 18, as we look around the world, we see grave violations of religious freedom that affect billions of people across the globe. The very worst abuses typically take place in dictatorships, whether they be religious theocracies like Iran and now Afghanistan, which demand adherence to their prescribed beliefs, or aggressively atheistic governments like the communist governments in China and North Korea. In these circumstances, we see the wholesale repression and persecution of religious communities and individuals, often involving violence, imprisonment, and even death. These circumstances should outrage the conscience of the world, and clearly much more must be done to confront these countries and hold them to account for their violation of international law. But what is also deeply concerning is that sometimes serious religious freedom abuses take place in countries that we identify as democratic and rights-based. Pakistan and India are both democracies, but in each of these countries we see grave and ongoing violations of freedom of religion, conscience, and belief. Pakistan targets its Ahmadiyya community for overt discrimination and persecution, and its aggressive application of its anti-blasphemy laws places Pakistan in the embarrassing position of having more people on death row for the phony crime of blasphemy than any other country. India, the largest democracy in the world by population, has seen a drastic downward trend in religious freedom conditions, according to the most recent report of USCIRF. There is widespread harassment and violence directed at religious minorities, and nationalist BJP-led government officials have proven themselves unwilling or incapable of confronting this challenge. Even countries that have been shining examples of robust and vibrant democratic rule have failed in some notable instances to fully protect the conscience rights of their citizens. There were grave concerns expressed during the height of the COVID pandemic about scapegoating of some religious communities in South Korea. And in Taiwan, the long-running attack against the Taiji Men community by bureaucratic despots within the tax administration have led many religious freedom experts around the world to condemn this form of administrative religious persecution. To their everlasting credit, so many of the communities that have been unfairly targeted and attacked have found within their faith the strength not to return evil with evil, but have sought to remain an influence for goodness, forgiveness, brotherhood, and virtue within their communities. I am full of admiration for those who have the strength to live out their ideals even in the face of terrible injustice, and I hope to learn from their inspiring example. The defense of religious freedom is vital, not only because it protects the individual dignity and conscience of our fellow human beings, but because societies that protect this basic right are societies that will also protect the other precious human rights we all cherish. I'd like to close by sharing a story that I think illustrates this point. In the 1300s, the theologian, writer, and priest John Wycliffe believed he was called by God to translate the Bible from the Latin Vulgate into the common vernacular that ordinary men and women could read and understand. He undertook this task despite the determined opposition of the ecclesiastical authorities of his day and in the face of grave persecution. Despite all, he persisted, and when he was done, he wrote the following words in the flyleaf of that first Bible. I quote, "The translation is complete and shall make possible government of the people, by the people, and for the people." What a remarkable thing to write. Words that were echoed centuries later by Abraham Lincoln in his immortal Gettysburg Address. I believe Wycliffe meant by those words that when men and women are free to seek and find truth for themselves, they become empowered to build societies that honor and defend the conscience and civil rights of all people. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. One thing that you said that stuck with me was the overall concept of the conscience of the world, and how nowadays in the modern society, we no longer live in our own small communities, but we're all interconnected through technology and modern advancements. And I think it's really scary how every time we hear so many news in the world, it's always about injustice or human rights violations. And one such example is the Taijimen tax case, which is a fabricated case that has already persisted for 25 years. And this is a case with no due process and no rule of law. And even though the Supreme Court of Taiwan has already declared Taijimen as innocent, the tax bills continue to come. Yet Taijimen Dizi refused to give up. And a few weeks ago, they traveled to the US Capitol to ask for action. Now, we'd like to share you a video of their experiences.
21 years ago, Taijimen Qigong Academy visited Washington, D.C. as ambassadors of peace and goodwill.
The Mayor of the District of Columbia does hereby proclaim March 22nd, 2000 as Taijimen Qigong Academy Day in Washington, D.C. And we welcome these international ambassadors of peace and goodwill.
21 years later, members of Taijimen Qigong Academy returned to Washington, D.C. to seek justice and raise international awareness of their situation. Taijimen Qigong Academy is a spiritual group with various academies in Taiwan and the U.S. The group strongly believes that they are being persecuted in democratic Taiwan through a tax evasion indictment beginning in 1996 that reached Taiwan's Supreme Court.
Despite the Supreme Court of Taiwan's rulings that we're innocent and tax-free, a few rogue bureaucrats continue to send us tax bills, and even just last year in 2020, our land was illegally auctioned off.
Justice for Taijimen!
This summer, Taijimen Qigong Academy and the Action Alliance to Redress 1219 publicized their cause through live and virtual events. The Action Alliance to Redress 1219 is a group of international and Taiwanese legal, religious, and human rights specialists working to rectify the Taijimen case and defend religious and spiritual freedom. In Washington, D.C., members of Action Alliance to Redress 1219 participated in the 3-day International Religious Freedom Summit. Former U.S. Ambassador Sam Brownback helped launch the summit as a forum for tackling religious discrimination around the world.
The charter that we put forward for this summit is a broad-based charter for all faiths or people of no faith at all, but it's about protecting that right of freedom of belief or conscience, freedom of religion.
In 2007, the Taiwan Supreme Court found Taijimen Qigong Academy not guilty of tax evasion and cleared the group of all charges. But Taiwan's Taxation Bureau disregarded the court decision and continued to impose taxes on Taijimen Qigong Academy.
In Taiwan, our enforcement law actually matches the two international covenants because it says that the properties for worship, for prayings, are not subject to be seized.
During a June 17, 2010 public hearing in the Legislative Yuan, Taiwan's Ministry of Finance openly agreed to resolve the case within 2 months. That has still not occurred. As a result, Taijimen's sacred land was auctioned and nationalized on August 21, 2020.
What we're asking for is to return that property to Taijimen and to hold the corrupt officials accountable.
The group visited TECRO, the Taiwan Economic and Cultural Representative Office, where Taijimen Qigong Academy silently protested outside. TECRO representatives came outside to talk to the protesters. Taijimen members delivered a message and books about the case to them.
We're Taijimen members in the USA. We're calling on Taiwan's government, especially President Tsai, to redress our tax case. We have just conveyed our message to Taiwan's Representative Xiao in the DC. Until Taiwan's government takes quick action to redress our case and return our land, we'll keep advocating for our case in the US and internationally.
So far, there has been no response from the Taiwan government. The Action Alliance to Redress 1219 continues to ramp up global awareness through efforts like virtual forums.
It is the year 2021, and we hope sooner rather than later that the case will be resolved. And I think we're standing in front of something that is a big symbol for justice, and we hope to continue our fight. This journey is not only for ourselves, but for human rights all around the world.
As you can see, Taijimen is an ancient menpai where its members aim to cultivate themselves and improve themselves and have hosted numerous cultural exchanges across the world, and is also a mainstay at Taiwan celebrations, such as the Taiwan Independence Day. And so let's see how the Taiwan top officials, the presidents of Taiwan, view Taijimen as an organization.
Taijimen is a menpai of Qigong, martial arts, and self-cultivation that aims to promote the essence of Taiji culture and improve the physical, mental, and spiritual health of the people of the world. Since ancient times, this excellent culture has been passed down from Shifu to Dizi. For Taijimen Dizi, practicing Qigong is one of the ways to facilitate self-improvement. Additionally, they have been conducting various forms of culture exchanges to spread the ideas of conscience, love, and peace. Since its inception, Taijimen has never done any fundraisers or accept any public donations. Taijimen Shifu and Dizi have self-funded trips to over 100 nations and presented over 3,000 performances to foster a culture of peace. Their efforts have been widely recognized and highly praised at home and abroad.
For the past 35 years since its founding, your esteemed organization has upheld its objectives of loyalty, filial piety, love of the country, and love of society, uniting like-minded people to promote martial arts, traditional culture, and good social values. It's admirable.
Taijimen is an ancient menpai of Qigong and martial arts passed down from generation to generation. It's like a big warm family. All Dizi are energetic and healthy physically and mentally. Under Zhang Menzhen's leadership, the Dizi not only practiced self-cultivation, but also spread kindness to help the world. Through international culture exchanges, they foster love for the world, promoting the idea of love and peace worldwide. On behalf of the government, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my utmost respect and gratitude to you once again. Thank you for your long-term efforts and contributions to our country and society.
Every time we see Taijimen, we see energy, warmth, and love. We all admire Dr. Hong's compassion and would like to see Taijimen practice this worldwide. Let Taiwan stand out and let the world come in.
Under the Zhang Menzhen's leadership, Taijimen has actively participated in international events, conducted citizen diplomacy, and raised Taiwan's global visibility. In the future, I also hope that Taijimen under Dr. Hong's leadership will continue to work with the government. Let us use our positive influence and move Taiwan forward with continued progress. Let the world see Taiwan.
Taijimen is a Menpai of Qigong and martial arts. It's a place for self-betterment and Qigong practice with a focus on teaching loyalty and filial piety.
Taijimen Dizi, you've been contributing your money and efforts with the idea of love and peace, as well as your excellent civil and martial arts. You've created a peaceful and very happy place in the world.
I would like to thank the organizer, Taijimen Qigong Academy, again for its efforts over the years.
I think it is wonderful that Taijimen is able to work with our health department to host this event, New Health Concepts, Total Mobilization Against the SARS.
Be kind, do good deeds, speak kind words. As Taijimen just said, an era of conscience has come.
If we all follow our conscience in everything we do, and the collective power of kindness will definitely improve ourselves, society, and the nation.
On New Year's Day and Taiwan's National Day, we can see Taijimen's brilliant performances. It is arguably the best example and representation of Taiwan's civil society.
We are releasing sky lanterns simultaneously around the world to pray for all humanity. Many Taijimen volunteers assisted in the event.
We, the organizing committee for the National Day, extend our gratitude to all of you again for your efforts and assistance. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to all of you.
In recent years, Taijimen's activity have always been very successful and very inspiring, especially their contribution to culture.
Taijimen's value and the cultural value it promotes do not limit to just traditional culture. The main thing is that it has made positive contributions to society. We hope Taijimen will continue to soar to greater heights.
Human rights are universal values. I think today, through Taijimen's promotion, Taiwan's society will pay more attention to the fundamental human rights.
Taijimen has promoted martial arts and ethics and projected our nation's arts and culture onto the international stage.
This year, Taijimen is promoting an era of conscience in particular. People need to apply their conscience, do good deeds, and foster social harmony. This is very meaningful. We hope the people of Taiwan will support this movement.
It's truly amazing. Even heaven is bestowing its blessings. Like today, there's wind and sunshine, and the temperature is very good. I saw all participants here were very joyful. This is really rare. Even heaven is helping you.
I'm very grateful for Taijimen's work in civilian diplomacy. Taijimen has always been committed to public welfare. I want to thank you for coming here and adding vitality to the program. This is Taijimen's spirit.
Through this method, we are displaying our traditional culture, sports, and arts in a different way. I think it's very good. It's very helpful for us in the international community.
On behalf of the government, I came to present a certificate of recognition to the Zhang Menren of Taijimen, Dr. Hong Daozi, for actively participating in international affairs, promoting martial art activities, projecting Taiwan onto the whole world over the years, and especially for enhancing Taiwan's image.
Taijimen itself is the best example. In particular, after their performances during the Sydney Olympics, for many people around the world, when they think of Taiwan, they think of Taijimen.
At the invitation of the city of Seattle, Taijimen participated in the Seafair in Seattle. The top 10 festivals in the United States. Taijimen's tradition is to strengthen the body, cultivate the heart and moral character through Chinese martial arts, and truly demonstrate the profundity of Chinese culture.
Under the leadership of Dr. Hong Daozi, Taijimen is spreading a message of love and peace not only to Taiwan, but also to the world, so that we can hear a refreshing voice amid the chaos in the world.
Today, we are very thankful that Taijimen Dizi came here. They not only presented performances, but most importantly, this kind of spirit. In fact, that is what Taiwan needs. That is to have confidence. When we apply this kind of kindness and stay serene in the heart, the power will be boundless as tranquility generates wisdom.
Enduring hardship makes one stronger. Taijimen Shifu and Dizi have been persecuted for over 2 decades. Despite this ordeal, they continue to foster love, peace, and conscience around the world. Dr. Rene Wadlow, president of the Association of World Citizens, an NGO associated with the UNDPI, stated that Taijimen has been very active throughout the world to conduct cultural exchanges and promote a culture of love and peace. They have brought people Taiwan's rich cultural life and heritage, and its pursuit of love and peace. Especially when their rights have been persecuted for many years, they still choose to continue promoting conscience, love, and peace. This is very exceptional. The Taiwanese government should protect Taijimen and resolve the tax issue in a fair and transparent manner.
In that video, you saw the president of Taiwan, the vice president, the president of the legislature, and the president of the Control Yuan all applaud Taijimen to be spreading kindness all through the world and raising Taiwan's global visibility. They say this in public, so we must ask, then why is the government ignoring due process and the rule of law when dealing with the Taijimen tax case for the past 25 years? How come there's no justice if the leaders of the government believe that Taijimen is such an outstanding organization and a symbol of Taiwanese pride? So next, we'd like to invite some experts to speak on this case. And first, we'd like to invite Dr. Massimo Introvigne, the founder of Centers for Studies on New Religions and the editor-in-chief of Bitter Winter magazine.
What is the Taijimen case
and what the Taijimen case is not. The Taijimen case is a case of freedom of religion or belief form, which we can divide in 4 types. Type 1, we all know that Taiwan enjoys religious liberty, unlike mainland China, but it was not always the case. Taiwan had a policy of controlling and repressing independent religious movements during the martial law period and beyond. And in 1996, religious and spiritual groups suspected of not supporting the president were severely repressed. Taijimen was also involved in this, even if it never took political sides. Its grandmaster or Shifu, Dr. Hong, was arrested and members were persecuted. Second time, the total victory of Taijimen up to the highest courts in Taiwan. Taijimen won all the court cases. Dr. Hong and his co-defendants were declared innocent and even awarded compensation money for the past unjust detention. Time number 3, however, a byproduct of this form persecution remain in the shape of tax bills. Even if the courts had said there was no tax evasion, the Tax Bureau continued to try to impose bills on Dr. Hong and Taijimen. The Tax Bureau revoked all the bills except one for the year 1992 based on a technicality. And time number 4, even if courts of law told them not to do it, the Tax Bureau and the Enforcement Agency in 2020 auctioned and then confiscated lands belonging to Dr. Hong and intended for a spiritual cultivation center of Taijimen. Now, it's important that we understand what the Taijimen case is not. It's not a tax dispute between a citizen and the government. It will not create so much commotion. Of course, the case shows some injustice in Taiwanese tax bureaucracy, but we should remember that the root is the form. It's a freedom of religion or belief case, and what is done to Taijimen is violation of form. Number 2, it's not about money. Taijimen might have settled with the tax office and spent much less money than they did in prosecuting this case for 25 years, but it's about form. It's not about money, and that's why the case continues. And number 3, it's not a protest against Taiwan or the Taiwanese system. Those of the Taijimen who live in Taiwan, who are Taiwanese citizens, they love their country, they are patriots, they understand Taiwan has a lot of problems, and precisely because of this, they want Taiwan to have a good image as a country where form is respected. So it is a form case, and because it is a form case, thousands of people are in the streets in Taiwan protesting about it. And because it's a form case, I believe it deserves to be internationalized, and all the governments, agencies, NGOs caring for form should care for this case, and not to be misled into dismissing it as a private tax dispute between a citizen and the state, but understand that fundamental principles of freedom of religion and belief and respect for spiritual minorities are at work in this important case. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Introvigne. Massimo has spent much time researching this case, the Taijimen tax case, and has summarized it very well for us. That the Taijimen tax case is not a tax dispute, but it's a matter of a freedom of religion or belief at this point. So next, we'd like to welcome our next expert, Mr. Shiru Kang, the former legislator of Taiwan.
In 2010, when Taijimen submitted their petition to me, I was a conventor of the Finance Committee in the Legislative Yuan. I accepted their petition and then studied the documents carefully. It was obvious that there was something wrong with our bureaucratic system. The nature of the income in the administrative disputes is the same for the 6 years in question. However, the income was not taxable for 5 of the 6 years, but was subject to taxes and penalties for 1 of the years. Hence, I immediately accepted their case and organized a public hearing in the Legislative Yuan. At that time, I also communicated very clearly with Mr. Li Shude, the then Minister of Finance, who also understood very clearly that there was indeed too much negligence and too many mistakes by the government officials involved in this case. At the time, when we held the public hearing, Mr. Li very clearly said that the time frame was 2 months, asking our National Taxation Bureau of the Central Area to submit the documents to the Ministry of Finance. And we were about to revoke the compulsory enforcement on the 1992 tax bill. However, after 2 months, even to this day, the case has not been settled yet. It is unbelievable. Even a 3-year-old kid would know that for an income of the same nature, how could it be not taxable for 5 of the 6 years, but taxable for just 1 year? There's a Taiwanese saying, it is a no-brainer. This is a bogus case. When they had a chance to close the case, the chance to rectify the injustice, why didn't they do it? The then Finance Minister Li Shude obviously knew that this was basically a travesty. Then why did the bureaucrats not let it go? It is totally unbelievable. The whole case has spanned the periods when there have been changes of power between the KMT and the DPP, so this has nothing to do with the political parties. Frankly speaking, I can say with confidence that this is entirely about a few bureaucrats hijacking the government. Hence, the whole government was tied up and unable to act. Such hijacking of government is not only the problem of the Ministry of Finance. I believe this problem exists commonly, and similar issues can be seen in other government agencies. Taijimen members have been working so hard and diligently to rectify their case. I think their persistent efforts are not only for their own tax case, but for the realization of transitional justice for all other cases. Through the Taijimen case, we hope that the government will conduct a thorough review in a truly prudent manner to prevent the government from being hijacked by a few rogue bureaucrats and to restore fairness and justice. There is no more need for the government to talk about human rights when it is handling such a simple and clear case in this way. What is the point for it to talk about transitional justice and human rights? We don't want this case to reveal to the international community that the human rights and democracy that the Taiwanese government claims to uphold are in fact bogus. Why can I clearly indicate that our rogue bureaucrats have hijacked the government? It's because there are many administrators people in power and representatives of the people who are indeed not professionals and probably are not familiar with regulations and rules. When they are not familiar with the rules, they would be easily hijacked by those bureaucrats. In fact, for many incidents, we can use our own judgment to clearly determine whether they are reasonable. I used to work as an arbitrator and have handled many petition cases. In some instances, officers in the local government think differently from those in the central government. Sometimes local officers did not want to take responsibility, so they would twist the rules, and the situation would become even more harsh and inhumane. So, I'm hoping that the Taijimen case would inspire those in power and let them realize that we need a mechanism to solve these cases of injustice. Honestly, I think the control yuan is a useless paper tiger that would usually respond late and apply topical treatment after the victims had perished. No wonder so many bureaucrats dare to abuse their authority for personal gains. We can clearly see why these bureaucrats handled the Taijimen case in this way. Their behavior reflected their desire for bonuses and shirking responsibility. As I previously stated, this situation has lingered to this day due to the wrongdoing of these bureaucrats and their dysfunctional mentality. I believe the genuine remedy is like what Dr. Hong at Taijimen suggested. People should begin by following their conscience. I believe that if every government official can begin with their conscience, we would have a great nation and will be very happy and content on every level. Now the control yuan and legislative yuan are advocating human rights campaigns. This is absurd to me when I consider it. They couldn't even handle the Taijimen case, which involved grave human rights violations. How do they think they'll be able to talk about human rights and handle human rights cases? The control yuan needs to reflect on itself again. For so many petition cases, what have they done to handle those parts related to human rights? Have the legislators really raised their voices for those unjust cases? Their talk on human rights is merely lip service, which I do not respect. Control yuan members and legislators, no matter what your political party is, I would admire if you could put an end to such a clear and simple case. I'll be convinced that the transitional justice you are talking about is really related to human rights. This is my ultimate call. Both control yuan and legislative yuan, please work harder, not just provide lip service. You promise something, and then you say you don't know anything about it. What you say is scary, and what you do is ridiculous. I think this is not what we would like to see. Please work harder, everyone.
大家加油。
Thank you, Mr. Kang. I really like how you put it, that the injustices in this case are so clear that even a 3-year-old can understand it. And now the government is trying to position itself as a glowing democracy with so many human rights campaigns. But they need to back up their words with action first. They need to solve the systematic bureaucrat abuse in the system regarding so many human rights violations. And the control yuan need to do their jobs to make sure that this does not happen. And now we'd like to invite the Venerable Ming Kwang, the chairman of the CCRB of Taiwan.
Today, once again, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks. When we were in Haiming Temple, Dr. Hong Daozi of Taijimen used to visit our master every year. Hence, we have a good connection with Taijimen. The practice of Buddhism and self-cultivation is nothing more than upholding kindness and following the rule of nature.
There is a saying, the moon's reflection can be seen in thousands of rivers. There's not a single cloud in a boundless sky. If people follow their conscience, then their hearts will be as clear as water in thousands of rivers to reflect the bright moon. If we clear our minds of bad thoughts, ideas, and concepts, we will be able to stick to the rules and know the boundaries when handling people and things. This is also the basic principle to conduct ourselves. It is precious to be a human being, and it's even a rarer opportunity to work for the government and serve the public. As there is a saying, serving the public gives you a good opportunity to cultivate yourself. As long as civil servants respect others' human rights, they would behave themselves and bring happiness and prosperity to the country. I have been attending forums on legal and tax reform many times. Why did I come again today? My advice: I would rather move thousands of mountains and rivers than disturb the peaceful minds of practitioners of self-cultivation. Buddha is merciful. I would like to remind the government of the importance of respecting people's rights to participate in cultural life and their right to freedom of religion or belief, which is the fundamental human right and the value of human dignity. Over the years, Tai Chi Men, where wisdom and martial arts have been passed down from Shifu to Dizi, from generation to generation, has been promoting the Tai Chi Men culture. They have been dedicated to carrying forward Chinese culture to help people achieve physical, mental, and spiritual health. Tai Chi Men Shifu and Dizi have self-funded trips to 101 nations to promote love, peace, and conscience. They have gained wide recognition and appreciation domestically and internationally. Those were acts of kindness to benefit all living creatures. However, in 1996, a series of incidents of political purge happened. The government persecuted religious and spiritual groups in the name of a religious crackdown. Tai Chi Men was caught in the crossfire. While it is a Chinese tradition for disciples to give their master monetary gifts, the Taxation Bureau arbitrarily treated the monetary gifts given by Tai Chi Men Dizi to their Shifu as tuition fees for a cram school and issued unlawful tax bills for 6 years based on the false data in the illegal indictment. Even though the Supreme Court found Tai Chi Men innocent of tax evasion and all other charges and ruled that the monetary gifts from Tai Chi Men Dizi to their Shifu were gifts and tax-free income. The National Taxation Bureau has failed to revoke all illegal tax bills derived from the Tai Chi Men criminal case as required by law. There is a saying, "It is a great merit to know and correct your mistakes." Surprisingly, the National Taxation Bureau only corrected taxes to zero for 5 of the 6 years in question, excluding the year 1992, when the underlying facts and the nature of the monetary gifts for the 6 years are the same. The Taxation Bureau maintained the tax bill for 1992 and even had Taijimen's land, intended for a spiritual center, illegally auctioned in August 2020. The purpose of a government is to serve its people. Governance should be people-oriented. The administration of policies should be based on the law, and reform should be for the well-being of the people. For 25 years, the government's actions against the spiritual group have caused damage to the people and society, as well as violated people's human rights. The current government has the responsibility to correct the mistakes, rectify the unjust case, and restore the victim's reputation. Only when people's hearts are stable will society be harmonious and the country be prosperous. The evidence and facts of the Taijimen case are clear. The Criminal Division of the Supreme Court and the Supreme Administrative Court confirmed that Taijimen was not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges, and that the monetary gifts given by the Dizi to the Shifu were gifts. The executive agencies should follow the court decisions, revoke the illegal auction and unlawful tax dispositions, return to Taijimen its land intended for a spiritual center, and stop violating Taijimen Shifu and Dizi's human rights. There is an ancient idiom: the people come first, the state comes second, and the king comes last. In a democracy, the people are the owners of the nation. My best wishes to everyone. Amitabha Buddha.
Thank you, Venerable Ming Guang. Yes, the government should be of the people, by the people, and for the people. But for the past 25 years, Taijimen Dizi has endured so much persecution, so much the government has enacted in media smear campaigns, even accusing Taijimen of raising goblins. Yes, in a modern democracy, the government, the prosecutor openly said that Taijimen was raising goblins. How is this even factual? How is this even evidence? So we'd like to share with you what the Taijimen Dizi have gone through these 25 years.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's program. On December 19th, 1996, the fabricated Taijimen case called the Law and Tax 228 incident by scholars and experts began. The Control Yuan investigated prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren's handling of the Taijimen case and found he had committed 8 major violations of the law, and the case was sent to the Ministry of Justice for disciplinary action against Hou. This case was chosen as a major human rights protection case in the General Report and the Work of Human Rights Protection of the Control Yuan from 1999 to 2005. It has been confirmed that serious violations of human rights occurred during the case and investigation process. The false Taijimen case should never have existed in the first place, and it should never have resulted in illegal taxation or auctions. The case has lasted for 25 years. For the past quarter century, a world-renowned ancient spiritual group that practices Qigong and martial arts has been harassed, and the matter has yet to be resolved. Let us now listen to their stories.
In 1988, a Taijimen Academy was established in a shopping center in Kaohsiung. It was a good place for disciples in southern Taiwan to practice Qigong, and a sweet home for them.
When I first stepped into this academy, although the place was small, it was full of joy and laughter. After joining Taijimen, every day after class, I would wait for my parents to take my brother and me to Taijimen. I would practice Qigong with other members. It was a place where we could relieve our stress.
Shifu always leads by example. After leading us to practice Qigong, Shifu would always talk about life philosophy and tell stories. At that time, the academy was always filled with laughter. Some would practice Qigong, while some would chat with one another. Many people wanted to join Taijimen.
I had cancer and was seriously ill. My health started to improve after I practiced Taijimen Qigong for about 3 months. Taijimen is a big family, and everyone here practices Qigong in peace and harmony. Stormy 1996. On December 19, 1996, the Taiwanese government launched a religious crackdown, and Taijimen was caught in the crossfire. Prosecutor Hou Huanren abused his power and illegally prosecuted Taijimen, causing significant damage to our home.
The 12/19 incident was really a big blow to us, and what was reported on TV was not what I saw in Taijimen. Because we're such a good group, our Shifu only teaches us what is good, right, and true.
Prosecutor Hou directed the searches and interrogations of investigators and armed police officers. He also slandered Taijimen by falsely accusing them of raising goblins. Regarding the allegation of raising goblins in the indictment, the Control Yuan solemnly stated that the prosecutor openly talked about the supernatural in the indictment. This was the first time in Taiwanese judicial history that something like this had happened. It was appalling and absurd, and it had seriously harmed the prestige of the justice system.
Prosecutor Hou's action was illegal, robbed people of their property, and hurt innocent people. It harmed our sweet home and hampered the self-cultivation of many of our brothers and sisters. Every time I think about it, my heart aches. The prosecutor and police arrested a brother, and he was pale and trembling all over.
Even my family members misunderstood me, and my relatives and friends refused to interact with me.
The indictment and the evidence contradicted each other, according to the Control Yuan's investigation report, and the prosecutors bringing the public prosecution clearly broke the rule of evidence. During the Control Yuan's probe, Prosecutor Hou also stated that he did not actually investigate this matter. This proves that the Taijimen case was fabricated from the beginning. His smear campaign has done a lot of damage to Taijimen Shifu and Dizi. This indictment was both a national and international embarrassment.
It is not due process to accuse a human being in a civilized society of raising goblins. The mere statement of that would cause individuals and should cause individuals to question the sanity of the prosecutor. In any court of law, such an absurd allegation would be thrown out.
I firmly believe that Taijimen is a great place. We must defend it.
The Taijimen case is an unjust case. The fabricated indictment is in violation of evidence law. By law, the case should not have been prosecuted, and the indictment cannot be used as a basis for taxation. However, the criminal court accepted the case, and after thorough investigations and trials spanning 10 years and 3 months, the Supreme Court declared Taijimen not guilty of tax evasion or any other charges on July 13, 2007. It was illegal for the National Taxation Bureau to issue tax bills based on the indictment. When the Supreme Court declared Taijimen not guilty, affirming that it owed no taxes, it reaffirmed that the indictment was completely improper. Therefore, By law, the tax bill issued based on the indictment should have been revoked in accordance with the court decision. However, the NTB ignored the court's decision and continued to issue illegal tax bills to Taijimen.
This case has dragged on for 25 years, spanning several presidencies. Still, no government official came forward to admit their mistakes and accept responsibility.
During the Legislative Yuan's public hearing on June 17, 2010, the Ministry of Finance and the NTB of the Central Area openly agreed to withdraw the enforcement and end the Taijimen unjust tax case within 2 months. But they broke their promise, and the case has yet to be resolved. On August 21, 2020, Taijimen's sacred land in Miaoli was illegally auctioned and confiscated. The Taijimen Academy on Lainan Street, Kaohsiung, was twice seized and banned from being disposed of.
The building was seized for a prolonged period of time. We couldn't maintain or manage it since we didn't have access to it. As a result, all the valuable items were stolen.
Tears welled up in my eyes as I entered the academy, which had been destroyed.
Kenneth Jacobson, professor of law at Temple University in Philadelphia, United States of America, and former advisor to President Bill Clinton, after studying the case for years, pointed out,
I teach my students and I lecture around the world about how important the rule of law is. And there is no and was no application of the rule of law in the Taijimen tax case. I call upon the President of Taiwan, I call upon the leaders of Taiwan to fix the mistakes of the past. As I have said before, to allow errors to continue, to perpetuate mistakes that were made in the past is as bad, if not worse, than committing those mistakes in the first place. This is a travesty. It is a tragedy too. It is unjust. And as someone who respects and has lived his life and career respecting the rule of law, this is offensive, and it should end, and it should end now. Thank you very much.
When Judge Zhao Zilong asked Shifu to present his statement, Shifu stated that he would use his life to defend Taijimen and his disciples.
Shifu was only released during court sessions after being detained for a long time. A journalist asked, Shifu, what do you plan to do in the future? Shifu replied, I will continue to teach my disciples to cultivate their hearts and moral character as long as they do not leave.
Shifu later told us to treat this society and this country with sincerity, diligence, tolerance, and peace. I admire Shifu's immense love and compassion even more.
I'm very grateful for Shifu's and his wife's perseverance, since Shifu is doing the right thing.
Along the way, I heard Shifu's teachings and saw his examples. No matter how many difficulties and challenges Shifu faces, he always leads his disciples to overcome the obstacles one by one. Shifu and his disciples share one goal in mind. We will certainly protect this brightly lit home.
Taijimen has visited every populated continent, promoting the concept of love and peace through cultural exchanges. The fabricated Taijimen case should not have existed from the beginning, let alone the illegal taxation and illegal auctions. The case has dragged on for 25 years. This is a landmark case of human rights in the century, which is relevant to the development of Taiwan's democracy and rule of law. Taijimen Shifu and Dizi will always insist on upholding the truth and justice. Taiwan's commitment to transitional justice and human rights protection has been put to the test in this 25-year case of blood and tears. According to scholars and experts, the ratification of the Taijimen case is a litmus test for the government's transitional justice, as well as its implementation of human rights protection and freedom of thought and belief. Thank you for watching.
I would like all of our participants and viewers to take a minute and let this fact sink in. It's been 25 years, a quarter of a century already. Where were you 25 years ago? And where are you now? How much has already changed in your life? Then how come there has been no progress in the Taijimen tax case? How come the tax bills keep coming? And how much longer must Taijimen Dizi suffer before there can be justice? But Taijimen Dizi still bravely go forward and work towards a resolution for this case. They believe that they will finally have their long-awaited justice. So today we have invited Taijimen Dizi from all around the world to come forth and share their testimonials and stories. First, we'd like to welcome Ms. Jessica Kuo, a counselor from Canada.
Hello, everyone. This is Jessica from Canada. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. I worked as a counselor to support immigrants' mental health and wellness education. But it's ironic that I can't stand the injustice that occurred in Taijimen. It gives me mixed feelings to have to speak up as a victim of the injustice. Since being a Taijimen disciple, Shifu has led us to cultivate our bodies and minds, taught us to love our country and other countries, and to be a law-abiding and virtuous citizen of the world. Shifu also personally led disciples to 101 countries on 5 continents in order to awaken more people to act with conscience, to sincerely work for the welfare of the people, and to make the world a better place. All the disciples are willing to spend their time and money to travel with Shifu around the world, to spread the message of love and peace, and to learn from Shifu's selfless love. I never expected such a wonderful group that has been invited to perform in a variety of cultural events in Taiwan and overseas could be falsely prosecuted by our own country. But even after being discredited and misunderstood, Shifu still led us to practice love and peace, to take the proper legal procedures to reveal the truth. Finally, in 2007, the Supreme Court of Taiwan determined that Taijimen was innocent of all charges and tax debts. However, the National Taxation Bureau and the Ministry of Finance reneged on their promise to revoke the tax bill and unlawfully and forcefully auction off the property of Taijimen, returning it to national ownership. It is really unbelievable that such an absurd act of banditry could happen in Taiwan, which is a democracy with the rule of law, and the unresolved case has been delayed for 25 years. In the past, I never paid special attention to taxation issues, and I never understood the national tax system properly. However, from this case, I realized that there are many injustices in the tax system in Taiwan, especially the abnormal bonus system, which encourages abusive billing and enforcement and has caused many shattered families and even fatalities. When the victims are crying in the dark, if we continue to choose neutrality and silence, it is also a kind of disguised aiding and abetting. And how do we know who will be the next victim one day in the future? Our government still chooses to ignore such a ridiculous act in our country. After all, fire cannot be wrapped up in paper, and this case has received international attention and solidarity. Dr. Massimo Intervinin, a well-known Italian sociology and lawyer, organized and spoke at a number of international summits to protest the injustices faced by Taijimen. And he also provided a special section for Taijimen in the globally recognized Peter Winter magazine. At the International Religious Freedom Summit held in Washington, D.C. this July, President Sam Brownback also attended the Forum of Taijimen and highlighted that the protection of freedom of belief or conscience and the right to religious freedom are fundamental human rights. Eric Rowe, the chairperson of European Interreligious Forum for Religious Freedom, ever said, "No country is perfect, but when it is so-called democratic country, which starts erring on the wrong tracks, the effects may be worse than when it happened in a totalitarian country, because it lowers the very standards of democracy for the entire world. It also sends the message that injustice would not matter, that wherever you are, bad guys can win over good guys, and that there's no accountability in the world." For years of living overseas, Taiwan has always been a beacon of democracy and freedom on the Pacific Rim, and a safe haven that can make overseas Chinese feel particularly proud. But is this President Tsai's so-called transitional justice? Is the promise to protect human rights only a reference slogan in the administrative organs? People's property and possessions are nothing more than fish flesh on the chopping block of government power, waiting to be divided up by the power abusers. Shifu has always taught us to distinguish between right and wrong, true from false, and good from bad. Shifu also advises us not to do the wrong things, not to compromise the wrong things, and to insist on doing the right things. As Taijimen disciples, we cannot allow ourselves to be bullied again and again, because justice and righteousness are irreplaceable values, and the freedom of belief is a basic human right that cannot be deprived of. We are still relighting the lighthouse of democracy with love and conscience, but we also insist on the truth and defend justice, not only for the fairness and justice of the legal and tax system, but also for the natural rights and for the security and the peace of the world. Thank you for your time and listening.
Thank you, Jessica. I agree that no bonus system should ever reward bureaucrats for abuse of power. This creates a system where everyone is a probable victim to the greed of the government officials, because the government should always put the people first. And next, we'd like to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Lorraine Huang, a student of the National Taipei University of Business.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lorraine. I'm a college student and also a Taijimen Dizi. I was born in Taijimen, where my Shifu taught me not only how to practice Qigong and stay healthy, but also how to spread love, happiness, and conscience to everyone around me. Bullying used to be a menace to me. When I was in senior high, my classmate was subjected to verbal harassment and bullying by others, and I was the first person to offer assistance. With my conscience, I plucked up the courage to stop the bullying and encourage her to walk out of the dark, though I really felt afraid of being isolated from other classmates. After assisting the bullied, I did feel left out, but the classmate and I became excellent friends. Honestly, I had no regrets for standing up for myself. Instead, I was glad that I listened to the calling of my conscience to do the right thing. Conscience is rooted in our mind. Conscience is the compass to guide our heart to do the right thing, like what I did to fight for the bullied. In 2019, I had the opportunity to attend the 2019 World Taxpayers Association Conference in Australia. In this conference, I shared with many scholars about conscience, which is the compass to guide us to have the positive thinking and to do the right thing. We are like seeds of goodness, carrying the message of love and peace to one another, and they will spreading their happiness to others, even the entire globe. The guidance of my Shifu, who makes me brave and hopeful, is the reason why I have so enormous hope and love for the world. However, Taijimen, a good place for delivering love and conscience, was victimized by the illegal bullied and abuse of the Taiwanese government. On December 19, 1996, Prosecutor Hou Kuan-ren of the Taipei District Prosecutor's Office led the police and the media to search and investigate all Taijimen academies. In addition, on April 17, 1997, he falsely prosecuted Taijimen for raising goblins. Prosecutor Hou falsely claimed the same money as fraud income and cram school tuition income. At the same time, he referred the case to the National Taxation Bureau, which classified Taijimen as a cram school and imposed unjustified taxes and heavy penalties for the years 1991 to 1996 without any legal basis. Taijimen, a Taiwan-based Menpai of Qigong, martial arts, and self-cultivation, was persecuted illegally by the National Taxation Bureau unexpectedly. Professor Kenneth Jacobson, practice professor of law at Temple University, used to say that it is not due process to accuse a human being in a civilized society of raising goblins. That mere statement of that would cause individuals and should cause individuals to question the sanity of the prosecutor. And in any court of law, such an absurd allegation would be thrown out. In addition, the professor also stated that the 20-year ordeal is the violation of human rights. It is not due process that the National Taxation Bureau keep treating Taijimen as a cram school, which has already been denied by the Ministry of Education, and imposing unjustified tax. It is also not due process to continue tax illegally, though the Supreme Court has proved that Taijimen is not guilty. The Taiwanese government, which calls itself a freedom of human rights government, has continued to illegally violate and deny our basic human rights and our freedom of religion and belief. The Taijimen case has been ongoing for 25 years, and the Taiwanese government continues to refuse to resolve the problems and acknowledge their fault. Last year, the Hsinchu branch of Administrative Enforcement Agency held an auction to forcibly take away Taijimen's land, which was supposed to be the site for a self-cultivation center. I was depressed and helpless in the face of our government's abuse. Our Shifu and co-defendants were apparently found not guilty of fraud, taxation, or violation of the Tax Collection Act in the final criminal verdict. But the Taiwanese government still took away our home. What's more, Taijimen case has seriously influenced how the international community views Taiwan's human rights ranking. Dr. Renee Wadlow, president of the Association of World Citizens, said he was paying close attention to how Taiwan dealt with the international covenant, especially the taxpayers' human rights. He further stated that Taiji Man is the minority religious and belief group that has been persecuted for 25 years and continues to face unfairness till now. In order to make everyone attach importance to identifying human rights and closely implement the education of the human rights, Taiji Man has used his case to study the issue of human rights on many domestic and international conferences, especially the government officials, who should abide by the rule of law and pay attention to human rights. Martin Luther King used to say that unconscionable things are not safe, not wise. As a college student sharing my story on today, the International Day commemorating the victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief, I feel ashamed about our government's ignorance of religious freedom and belief, disregard for human rights, and escape of their conscience. Although I didn't believe a person can change the world in the past, now I have the courage to fight for our human rights because of my Shifu, who is not afraid of the persecution of the government, keeps helping world leaders, spreads love and peace with conscience, and still fight for democracy, fairness, and equity. Justice delayed is justice denied. What I fight for is not only our generation's future, but also the rights of those who are still mistreated by the government's authorities. Thank you all.
Thank you, Lorraine. It's very brave of you to stand up to your bullies, and I think we can all embrace that spirit when dealing with injustices. Our next speaker is Mr. Jeff Chen, who is a software engineer from the US.
Hi, my name is Jeff. I joined Taiji Man with my family in 1993 when I was 7. Me and my family are all victims of the Taiji Man case. Practicing Qigong actually made me feel special. As a young boy, I was shy, introvert, and lacking confidence. After practicing Qigong, I started to find my inner peace, build out the confidence, and make more new friends. It totally changed my life. However, when the Taiji Man case broke out in '96, my life took another U-turn. Some people, including my friends and some family members who didn't join Taiji Man, started laughing at me, saying my Shifu is a fraud, Taiji Man is a cult, and my parents are scammed. Some parents even told their kids to stay away from me, fearing I might have any negative influences on them. I was just a normal 11-year-old kid. I'm not the only victim in my family. When the case broke out, my dad was a bank executive. His boss heard from the news that my dad was a Taiji Man Dizi, fearing that he might have the negative image in the company. So my dad was assigned to a less important role and stayed in that role for a couple of years before he was assigned back to the core banking business. Some other family members faced discrimination in daily life. People shouted at them on the street when they were just merely wearing the Taiji Man uniform. Actually, I'm not just quite sure why I'm here today. It's been 25 years. Our case is still pending. I started to feel we are just wasting our time and energy. During all these years, we have had 4 different presidents from both of the major political parties in Taiwan, yet no one has been able to help us. Politicians are just being politicians. All they care is just winning the election. They don't really care about what the people need or what the people want. Earlier in the session, we just saw the video with all those Taiwanese politicians praising Taiji Man, yet they don't really care if we are just still being abused by the government, by their own government officials, and by the system. The issue hasn't been fixed in 25 years. Is our case going to be fixed in the next 25 or even 50 years? I'm just not sure. We have all more important things to do. It's a lovely Sunday evening. We are supposed to be relaxed and get ready for Monday. We could have just spent the time with our family or friends. We could have just sit on the couch watching our favorite TV show or a baseball game. We could have just ignored this pathetic case altogether. Yet we are all sitting here, hoping the impossible to become possible. I grew up in Taiwan, and I came to the US 9 years ago. I used to love Taiwan and was proud to be a Taiwanese, just not anymore. Now I'm just ashamed of being a Taiwanese or telling people I'm from Taiwan. Taijiman case is not caused by some greedy Taiwanese government officials who didn't follow the rule of laws. It was caused by the fake democratic system, where no one's willing to take the full responsibility. Prosecutor Ho Kuan-ren faked the whole Taijiman case, yet he got promoted to a more important role. What a joke! How ridiculous! Pathetic! I'd rather spend the rest of my life here in the US, a country which is not my home, a place I have no family, a country who really cares about human rights, or at least they pretend to care. Like I'm sitting here pretending I care about Taiwan, which I barely do. But there are people I love who cares about Taiwan, so here I am. To be honest, I don't know what to say. People don't need a college degree to understand how ridiculous the Taijiman case is. I don't need to go into more details. I'm just here trying to say one last time to the Taiwanese government officials, just do your job. People pay you to do your job correctly and legally. We are not paying you to abuse your power on people or on ourselves. My parents, uncles, and aunts are all retired, yet they have spent countless days, rain or shine, standing in front of Texas Bureau office building, holding the signs or chanting our wishes, hoping the government could hear our voices. The government just didn't pretend to care. This is the Taiwanese government. I'm just so proud. Not really. During the pandemic, it's supposed to be a time for everyone to rethink. If we should spend more time with our family before the end of the world, before the end of humanity, many of my friends have moved back to Taiwan for good to be with their families. However, many friends ask me if I want to move back. I don't even need to think. My answer is no, never. Not until Taiwanese government resolve the issue for us. I don't care if I'm 10,000 miles away from my family. I just don't want to pay any tax money to support this ridiculous government. The government faking all the reputation, pretending to be a democratic government. The government who doesn't care about its own people. What's the point? I'd rather stay here or even struggle here in this foreign country. Yes, I miss my motherland. This is an unfortunate and terrible mistake made by the Taiwanese government. It has caused some permanent damages in me and my family. It's really frustrating that this case is still unresolved after all these years. Fighting this case is like running a super marathon. We've spent so much time and energy already. As a software engineer, we fix any bugs or issues in our systems. In some easier cases, it might be the one-line code fix. In some other cases, it might be too complex or too time-consuming to fix the issue, and it might actually be easier to re-implement the whole system. Taijiman case is supposed to be a super easy one-line fix. We just need someone to work with the conscience based on the rule of laws and take full responsibility and fix the issue. If it doesn't work, we might need to rethink how we can re-implement the whole system in a revolutionary way. Hopefully, this doesn't need to happen. If it actually needs to happen, let's all work and fight together. Fight for justice, fight for human rights, fight for love. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. As you can hear from Jeff's recollection, this legal case is not just a legal case for Taijimen Dizi, but something that they have been actively persecuted for the last 25 years. His family was only walking through the streets, and then they were being persecuted. This is something that has stuck with us for 25 years. So next, we'd like to welcome our next speaker to share his own story, Mr. Alan Hung, a college student from America.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello, everyone. I am Alan Hung, and when I was just 7 years old, I started to practice Qigong at Taijimen. I grew up with Taijimen, and I have improved my physical and mental well-being. I have learned to look at many challenges through a different perspective and to be able to live a more prosperous and fulfilling life. I also had the opportunity to travel with Taijimen to spread ideas of love, peace, and conscience around the world. However, even with all of the benefits Taijimen brings to the world, Taijimen has been for over 24 years and continues to this day being persecuted. Therefore, today I would like to make 3 important points in relation to the democratic institutions and the Taijimen tax case. I will also highlight the importance of these 3 points for a society that values human rights and civil liberties. My first point is that governments should not weaponize the bureaucracy against its own people without good reason. Democratic governments are institutions meant to serve and protect its people, not to suppress or harm the people. They are not above the law or above that of its own people. If an individual or organization did not break any laws, and if an individual or organization did not violate the human rights or civil liberties of other persons or group, there should be absolutely no reason for a democratic government to intervene and destroy that innocent person or group. In the Taijimen tax case, Taijimen did not break any financial laws, and Taijimen did not violate the human rights or civil liberties of other persons or groups. Yet the government of Taiwan still persecutes Taijimen through the use of the tax bureaucracy. When the government decides to allow rogue government officials to be above the law and investigate anyone without any just cause for their own self-interest, the government will no longer be of the people, by the people, and for the people. The government will then become separated from the people and start to use its own authority and power to therefore extract from the people. My second point I would like to make in relation to the Taijimen tax case is that as an investigator, you must be impartial and make your decisions based upon evidence without already deciding on a verdict beforehand. At the end of the day, if there is absolutely no evidence of tax evasion or fraud from your investigation, that is what you must conclude. You should absolutely not fabricate or produce false evidence that has no basis in reality. The truth is the truth, even if it goes against your own assumptions for starting an investigation in the first place. It is extremely important in a democratic society for decisions to be made based upon evidence, facts, and the truth. When government officials are allowed to purposefully fabricate or create a false narrative around an individual or organization without any consequences, no one's human rights or civil liberties will be safe from the government's arbitrary actions. My third point is the understanding that all people, groups, or even large professional organizations will inevitably make mistakes. But what matters more at the end of the day is what you do after a mistake has been made. In the Taijimen tax case, the government and bureaucrats responsible seem to always turn a blind eye to their mistakes, pretend it does not exist, or continuously passing the blame onto others. This case should not have lasted for over 24 years. This case had multiple opportunities when it could have been rectified and resolved. Yet the Taiwanese government, in this case, does not seem to care when its own people are being suppressed by rogue government officials. After multiple court cases that have been ruled in favor of Taijimen, multiple government officials publicly supporting Taijimen, and even multiple government departments voicing their support for Taijimen, there's still no tangible action taken by the government to resolve this case. In order for a stable democracy to continue in Taiwan, the government must take action to right their past wrongs and to keep in check rogue government officials who want to use their position of power for their own self-interest. And finally, I would like to end with this idea that in a democratic society, truth is one of the most important ingredients for a long-lasting and prosperous society. For it is truth that allows corrupt and rogue government officials to be kept in check. It is the truth that prevents the state from abusing its power towards people and organizations that are innocent and have done nothing wrong. Truth is something that was missing from the Taijimen tax case throughout its entire history. From the fabricated evidence to the illegal detentions, from threatening the detained Taijimen Dizi to testify outright false statements, to the tax bureau ignoring court orders and acting above the law, or the rogue government officials outright denying responsibility for the harm caused in the past. It is very important for all global citizens everywhere to always strive towards the goal of truth. Hopefully, we will all be able to persevere and continue on a path towards a future in which the truth really matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Taijimen has always traveled across the world to promote cultural exchanges and promote peaceful dialogues. And Dr. Hong has always taught Dizi to treat the world with love and peace. Taijimen does not deserve to be abused like this any further. Next, we'd like to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Andrea Chang, a college student from the US.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrea and I'm a senior at the University of Washington. I've been practicing Qigong at Taijimen since I was 6 years old, so almost 15 years. And through these 15 years, I've traveled with Shifu and Taijimen brothers and sisters to many events around the world, spreading love and peace and conscience to allow more and more people to learn of us and our mission in the world. A little bit more about me. I was born and raised in America. And so throughout my life, I've been taught the basic rights that every person has: freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and so on. And throughout history, we have learned of many instances where protests have sparked big changes in America. For example, the civil rights movement. Before the movement, people of color were treated significantly different and segregation was very prominent. However, when people started protesting, the government listened and many changes were put in place that changed the course of the country and allowed people to regain the rights that they should have had in the first place. And as a democratic country, that's what should be right. The government should listen to the people, listen to the majority, and make the right changes to better the future. When I first learned about the Taijimen tax case, I was really young and I didn't quite understand it. But now that I am older, I've come to realize that we're living in a repeat of history, facing persecution by public power, and our brothers and sisters have to protest and fight for the freedom of faith and human rights that have been taken away from us by others. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I've been practicing Qigong at Taijimen for about 15 years. And over the past few years, I've had the opportunity to travel with Dr. Hong to the United Nations to attend several conferences. And at these conferences, I've had the opportunity to talk to people from different walks of life and people who are changing the world starting in their own communities. This opened my eyes and shaped the way that, and I began to see the world differently. I began to see the similarities despite the differences in everyone that I encountered. The typical human rights that I've been privileged to have for my entire life and that I took advantage of were human rights that some people around the world do not have, and I didn't know that. In terms of the Taijimen tax case, the government took away the rights of our shifu and brothers and sisters because a prosecutor falsely named Taijimen to be a cram school. It seems rather ironic to me that we travel to different countries around the world to talk about love and peace and promote the era of conscience movement and talk about how important human rights and conscience are, and like travel to over 100 countries around the world just for love and peace. But our brothers and sisters have to stand in the streets to protest and try to win back human rights. The Ministry of Education, which is responsible for the administration of cram schools in Taiwan, have already proven Taijimen to not be a cram school 3 times. And the court has also ruled that Taijimen is a Qigong and martial arts practice. But so far, the National Tax Bureau is still using the name of a cram school for the reason of illegal taxation according to the prosecutor's erroneous indictment, and even auctioning off the sacred site of Taijimen's practice, which I find just ridiculous. And it's sad that even in an age where we talk about equality and human rights, there's still a lack of human rights and a lack of respect for the beliefs and practices of others in the world. And so as time goes on, this case of injustice creates more and more problems, with more and more people experiencing the selfishness of individuals in the government and the unruliness of the government in handling situations like this with its citizens. And as the end of the year approaches, I sincerely hope that the Taiwanese government will provide justice and fairness to the Taijimen case and address the national problems that caused by the mistakes of the judge in the case, and truly resolve the case with more transparency and grace, and finally return the freedom of faith and human rights that should have been given back to our shifu and brothers and sisters over 2 decades ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I think with the youth, there's been a social justice movement throughout all the countries in the world, whether it's racial, freedom of religion, or just any type of discrimination. And I think it's really powerful for the people to stand up. People stand up in numbers to spread awareness and spread that they will not tolerate this abuse any longer. So next, we'd like to show everyone a video on the steps that Taijimen Dizi have taken to protest and to work towards this further resolution. So I'd like to show you the MV No Way.
什么秘密？真相的时光机，谁在欺骗你？变得了的钢琴，滴着水的屋顶，已消失的光阴，谁能倒回去？孔子说：“子不语怪力乱神。”侯简说的你们确信？没调查，带枪上门抓人入狱，无罪却没人听。没做的事被你说的绘声绘影，良心在哪里？人民在苦海之中哭泣，但你全都当成是放屁。国税是你的兵器，即使法院说没问题，你依然嗤之以鼻，置之不理，自以为是皇帝，草菅人命，逼到绝境，谁能真正伸张正义？蚂蚁拼命，永不放弃一颗炽热贪心，犯错不停，随着轮回，早已失效的行政救济，满载负评，逐渐沦为一场永远没止境的悲剧。不顾程序，伪造文书，倒卖名产，曾经住院不理别，在自首不改，冥顽不灵，为了奖金玩弄命，操纵媒体，借贪权，贪赃法无无名。正义其实根本不正义。我们还能走去哪里？我们还要坚持真理，要我放弃心中正义 ？No way, no way。 国税是你的兵器，即使法院说没问题，你依然嗤之以鼻，置之不理，自以为是皇帝，讨奸人命，逼到绝境，谁能真正伸张正义？蚂蚁拼命，永不放弃，一颗炽热丹心，犯错不停，随着轮回早已失效的行政救济，满载复评，逐渐沦为一场永远没止境的悲剧。不顾程序，伪造文书，倒卖名产，曾经诉愿不理，别再知错不改，冥顽不灵，为了蒋经王弄命，操纵媒体，借贪权，贪赃法无辜无名。正义其实根本不正义，我们还能走去哪里？我们还要坚持真理，要我放弃心中正义 ？No way, no way。我们还能走去哪里？我们还要坚持到底，要我放弃心中正义 ？No way, no way。不管未来路上充满多少的困境，自始至终我们都不曾放弃，捍卫真理，守护家园，我不曾忘记，勇敢坚持到底是我的宿命，要我放弃心中坚持的正义 ，No way, no way, no way, no way。
When I saw every image in the beginning of the destroyed Taijimen property, each image was like a piercing dagger driven deep through my heart. But then every time I saw Taijimen Dizi stand up and protest and stand up for justice, each was a ray of hope that we could create a better future and resolve this. Now I'd like to welcome our next member, Mr. Eric Shen, an IT manager from the US.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric. I studied history as a young student and discovered that during the spring and the autumn period 2,500 years ago, there was a sage named Lao Tzu. According to his historical record, Lao Tzu wrote the book Dao De Jing. Later generation considered Lao's philosophy as a Taoism. I became aware of Lao Tzu from borrowing a book from the library. I wonder why in this day and the age, there's no sage like Lao Tzu. As a result of my destiny to join Taijimen, an ancient empire of Qigong, martial art, and self-cultivation, I gradually discovered that such place and the people still exist in today's world. Taijimen's culture is deeply rooted in the wisdom of Tao. My Shifu, Dr. Hong Daozi, the master of Taijimen, not only teach us Qigong to maintain our physical and mental health, but also cultivate ourselves, improve our temper, learn the wisdom of life, and educates us to not only to love ourselves, but also to love others. Our master leads us traveling the world with his deeds to promote the peace, love, and the conscience around the world. On December 19, 1996, Taijimen was illegally raided by prosecutor Hou Kuanren, who searched branch of Taijimen across Taiwan and 19 residents of Taijimen Dizi. He unlawfully detained Taijimen Shifu, Dr. Hong Daozi. In the months of the followed, prosecutor Hou violated scientific investigation and accused Taijimen of raging government because there was no criminal evidence. He abused his authority by sending an illegal letter to ministries of the Interior, falsely accused Taijimen of being an evil religion group and requesting that Taijimen to be dismissed. In fact, he wrote the 8th county office, urging Taijimen be terminated. To repeat, he sent an illegal letter to the country office, requesting them to cut off water and electricity in Taijimen Academy in order to carry out his dismiss order, limiting the rights of tens of thousands of Taijimen bees to practice and destroy the location where Taijimen bees gather for practice. Although the Supreme Court was confirmed not guilty and without any tax evasion in 2007, Taijimen's reputation has been tarnished and fabricated tax bills that lasted for nearly 2005 years have not been resolved. The building that were planned for self-cultivation center have been frozen by the government after 25 years. The good houses are turned into broken walls. Taijimen's land that was planned to be built as a self-cultivation center has also been illegal auctioned off and confiscated. It is a brave breach of Article 18 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which states that everyone has right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, as well as the 22nd General Command. The 22nd General Command states that the term belief and religion are to be broadly construed. Article 18 is not limited in its application to traditional religions. It also states that the concept of worship is tend to ritual and ceremonial acts, giving the right expression to belief, as well as various practice integral to such acts, including the building of place of worship, the use of ritual formulae and the object, the display of symbols, and the observance of this holiday and the days of rest. Article 53 and 130 of Taiwan enforcement law clearly state that objects used for sacrifice and worship should not be the subject of seizure. According to the resolution, International Day commemorating the victim of acts of violence based on religion and belief, adopted by General Assembly on 28 May 2019, really mean the purpose, principle, and shine in the Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in particular the right of freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, strongly reporting all acts of violence against persons on the basis of their religion or belief. Innocent individuals were killed as a result of war. The arrogance of bureaucracy is unwillingness to beat arrow. The ineffective appeal procedure in tax case are all part of harsh and stagify on basic people-based human rights. Persecution of freedom of religion and the belief in any form should be strongly condemned. Taijimen has been harassed by government's tax abuse. Because of that, building were worn out and the facility for practice were unable to be used anymore. Our land was planned for a spiritual center were auctioned off and constructed by government. This is a serious violation of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. State that everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. It needs everyone's attention and the international condemnation. I urge the government to address the Taijimen case, correct their mistake, and restore the justice to Taijimen Shifu and the Dizi. It is the responsibility of democratic country and the government to end the persecution. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. As we can see from Eric's sharing and in all the stories we've heard so far, the unlawful actions taken by the Taiwanese government continue to pile on and on. We'd like to welcome another member, Ms. Coco Ye, a software engineer from the US.
Hello, my name is Coco. I'm from California. I have been a Taijimen Qigong practitioner for over 5 years. Today, I would like to talk about building a nation with integrity, examining the Taiwanese government's reputation from Taijimen case. Taijimen is a joyful place, which can transform grudges into forgiveness. My dad also joined Taijimen after I started. He is a survivor of World War II. The post-war trauma made him strong-minded, which impacted our relationship. Dr. Hong said that filial piety is important. So I brought my dad to Taijimen in the hope of rebuilding our relationship. I saw him carefully studying every movement, ponder Taijimen's yin and yang philosophy. He was very happy to discuss philosophy with Taijimen members and gradually let go of the past. I'm grateful that Taijimen helped my dad. Also, due to a tough decision made by my dad when I was young, I have been holding grudges for years. One day, while I happily drove him to Taijimen Qigong practice, suddenly this unpleasant flashback appeared in my mind. But instead of indulging in the bitterness, I felt loved towards my dad. Dr. Hong told me that happiness is a choice, not a result. His word gave me the strength. Instantly, the sad memory disappeared and my heart opened up. In the United States, the COVID-19 has claimed more than 600,000 lives. In the face of this sudden disaster, people feel extremely helpless. In the past year and a half, when I was mostly quarantined at home, practicing Taijimen exercise and meditation has allowed me to maintain my fitness and stay calm. Dr. Hong told me that conscience is the guiding principle of our daily lives. Conscience let me know that I don't need to stock up too much food and personal protective equipment during the pandemic and leave this resource to others who need it more. Facing unprecedented natural and man-made disaster, I believe what Dr. Hong said, conscience is the solution. Since 2014, Dr. Hong has been continuously promoting love, peace, and conscience to unify world citizens to tackle global challenges. Taijimen is a treasure box to me, a place I can cultivate physical and mental health and promote love, peace, and conscience. When I learned that Taijimen has been persecuted by Taiwan's National Tax Bureau for over 24 years, I was shocked. How can this observed case happen, especially in Taiwan, a democratic country? The first thing that puzzled me is that on July 13, 2007, the Criminal Division of Supreme Court in Taiwan verdicted that Taijimen was found not guilty of fraud, tax evasion or violation of the tax collection. Shouldn't this case be over? Former Vice President of Finance Wang Deshan and Wang Rongzhou did say that since the Taijimen tax case was derived from the criminal indictment, if the criminal case is ruled as not guilty, then the tax case will be revoked. The criminal case is in favor of Taijimen. Shouldn't the tax case be revoked now? The second puzzle is that in 2010, during the Legislative Yuan public hearing, the National Tax Bureau and the Ministry of Finance, in front of legislators and the public, agreed to revoke illegal tax bills within 2 months. This is a public hearing, and no one would have thought that what was promised in public could be broken. Not only did the National Tax Bureau of Taiwan not keep its promise to revoke the illegal tax bills, but later on even illegally seized the sacred land of Taiwan, Taijimen. In 2020, there's a saying, one can succeed in society with integrity, let alone a government. Because my Swiss relatives, I'm familiar with both countries, Taiwan and Switzerland. These two countries are similar in the geographic size. They are covered by mountains. However, Switzerland was ranked the #1 country in the 2020 Best Country reports by the US News Report. Being curious about Switzerland's success, I did some research and found that Switzerland is the most honest country in the world, according to the July 5th issue of Science magazine. It's honesty and integrity that helps Switzerland become the best country in the world. Comparing the deception and forgery of the National Tax Bureau of Taiwan during the Taijimen case, I lost the trust to Taiwanese government. I feel that human rights are violated. Can you claim Taiwan as a democratic country when the just judicial decisions is not respected and civilians' property is not protected? I'd like to call on Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen to return the sacred land to Taijimen, to censure corrupt government officials, and to end the persecution to Taijimen, so the Taiwanese government can gain the trust again, and the silver movement of love, peace, and conscience can flourish, and Taiwan can become one of the best countries in the world.
Thank you, Coco. So in this session, you have already heard a few times from our videos and speakers that the Taijimen case is a fabricated case. And while you may think this is hearsay, we want to show a video of a tax officer admitting that Prosecutor Ho asked him to fabricate the case.
Exposing the Taijimen tax case secrecy, bringing the truth to light. Ho Kuan-ren coerced tax collector Xu Yuesheng to commit perjury, according to Xi, falsely accusing Taijimen of tax evasion. The persecution has continued for 25 years.
还是什么？你怎么尝试一下？对不对？啊，当时的问题，现在
就说当时怎么会照样以当时来讲，就不应该了。当时怎么改，你懂不懂？
那时候没有什么敢不敢的。 他当时通知我说办这案子的时候，我是看，我说，让你做好吧。
我就跟他提出来，哎呦，怎么能这么干？
他说就这样办，
就这样子办。
所以说那时候。 人家找我的时候，人家讲这案子有问题。
对。
人要听的。
没有人要听的。所以你那个时候，您说就这样办，是市调处的人跟你讲的，然后你那市调人说有问题，
结果他也
我们这样，后来有人找我们讲，是没问题，我们是办事的。原来我们怎么看吧？但是没让你们讲，我说就是告诉你，我当时是看，我说你们怎么算的？他拿给我看，这你从哪里来的？你是不是？说这样不能算吧？然后他就说，他说啊，这不谈，不谈，啊，你要怎么样？他说我们是这样的。你们要想过，这就是要做嘛。那小人讲，去办嘛，去办啊！
去办啊！他的意思就是，反正就是这样办啊。
我们人家那个压力，我没办法，我就这样办。然后你来找人家，没问题，是不是？妈的，哎，要不成，怪不得荷兰人啊找我是，他纯粹是。
打会，你是说他找你去只是做样子而已？就是你不管说什么，反正他写他的，是不是？
他吓死了。
他吓死？
他就是老跟他讲，这个说他当时讲什么，讲得很好。
他打电话还问你说我当时跟你讲什么？他自己讲的话他不记得吗？
吓死！
他配合是调查吗？
他知道。
他知道。
他知道。那时候10年前的案子，他知道是，是这样，吓得半死。
Ho Kuan Ren trumped up the Taijimen case. Due to the duress, the tax collector testified falsely against Taijimen. The illegal tax bills have been fabricated since the very beginning. The unlawful tax bills should be revoked immediately. The Taiwanese government should return to Taijimen the land it confiscated, which is intended for a spiritual retreat.
As you can see from the video, Prosecutor Ho fabricated the entire case without a shred of evidence. And you could see that there's no accountability in any stage of the government, and they only protect each other. To continue with our panel and our hearing stories, we'd like to welcome Ms. Lillian Lin, the student at the Shichen University of Industrial Design in Taiwan.
Hi everyone, I'm Lillian and I major in industrial design. Though it's a bit heavy participating in this online forum today, I'm still full of hope, and I sincerely wish that the world will become better with everyone's effort. Last year, on the eve of August 21, a great catastrophe occurred. Even while we all know that intolerance and violence against individuals, members of religious groups, and minority based on religion or beliefs continue to occur around the world, we nonetheless feel regret and can no longer endure to see innocent people sacrificed. The purpose of this momentous milestone is to draw humanity's attention to religious and belief freedom, because such a right has a significant capacity to transcend racism and prejudice, heal scars in people's hearts, and stable society. It is referred to as innate human rights. So at the beginning, I would like to raise a question. Do you have religion or do you have faith? You might not have a religion, but you must have something that you believe in or depend on. Someone once described faith like this. It is innate, but dies in humanity. If you have it, you can look up to the stars, even if you tumble into the abyss. And now I want to talk about my faith first. I'm a Taijimen 弟子, and I joined this group since I was 10. And from then on, my life has changed. I'm a person who believes in love, in peace, in the beauty of all things in the world. But I wasn't like that before. I used to be a timid, unconfident, and pessimistic girl who always lives in the haze, being afraid that my family would break at any time, living in the harm of campus bullying and the distrust and betrayal of people. I don't know what the purpose of living is. And I once thought that I would just be like this with my heart riddled with holes through my entire life, until I met my Shifu Dr. Hong Daozi. He's a great wise man and changed the destiny of countless people with love in his lifetime. A man who taught me to dispel hatred with love and to be brave to overcome all the challenges in life so that I could completely say goodbye to all the pain in the past and learn how to love myself, love others, and to believe again. To me, such a warm, selfless, and loving great wise man like him become my Shifu is like a miracle of life. When I was a child, I didn't know much about the world and felt I could live happily ever after. When I grew up getting sensible enough to know that everything wasn't just like what I'd seen, I realized that my Shifu Dr. Hong had been suffering from the persecution of the country, almost leading to the destroy of this group. This heart is caused by unscrupulous officials' aggressive disregard for cultural belief. In fact, the Supreme Court of the country has already determined in the third instance that Taijimen is not guilty and no tax evasion. The National Taxation Bureau still continues to impose illegal taxes. I feel so disappointed. On the one hand, Taiwan, where I grew up, was proclaiming to the world that we are a democratic country with a rule of law. But on the other hand, it tramples a group of tens of thousands of people, injuring a great man who has made a significant contribution to the world. Countless lives are lost as a result of a criminal conduct, of which the spread of love and peace throughout the world of a spiritual group is therefore stopped. Who could return all of this to us? Despite this result, Dr. Hong has no hatred. Instead, he transformed his anguish and resentment into love. He traveled to more than 100 countries, promoting the culture of love and peace and assisting even more people. He wishes to awaken the world's conscience in a hope of making a world full of love and peace a reality. Over the past few decades, we've gone through all the means of administrative relief, petitions to fight for our rights peacefully and rationally. Nevertheless, our hopes are like a stone sinking into the sea with nothing in return. Finally, we gathered on Katagalan Boulevard in front of the presidential palace, the residence of the Supreme Head of State, to express our concerns, sitting and sleeping in the streets. I remember one year on the winter night when we slept in the Katagalan Boulevard. It rained cats and dogs. Every tent was flooded and the sleeping bag and clothes were all soaked. One of the tents was where I was sleeping. My whole body was trembling horribly. We didn't get much sleep, but it wasn't only that sleepless night. For more than 20 years, none of us, the Taijimen 弟子, could sleep soundly. Despite this, no officials came out to bravely settle our problems or say anything. The United Nations General Assembly has set the state and strongly condemns all acts of violence against others based on religion or belief. Any such act against their residences, businesses, property, schools, cultural centers, or places of worship, and all violations of international law and attacks on religious and holy sites. But sadly, I even witnessed the illegal auction of our property following a 2-month protest in front of the Administrative Enforcement Agency, the Ministry of Finance, the 5 Yuans, and the Presidential Palace. During the period, a group of seniors, experts, scholars, and I stood there from morning to evening, sweating and crying, petitioning, protesting, and using various methods to protect our sacred place. We did everything we could. Nonetheless, we are unable to prevent illegal officials from abusing public power to abuse individuals and slaughter them illegally. Finally, the precious site of spiritual practice that we had defended with our lives was forcibly nationalized by government agents using such cruel and illegal methods. They utilized administrative power to hide themselves, tainting the democracy for which the matrists and sages gave their lives, and then destroying it all of a sudden. We were all in tears. It's been 25 years. Our dignity has been trampled on for 25 years, and the court has already found us innocent. But in the end, we failed to defend our homeland and prevent democracy from being shot to death. We are certain that this will not be the end, because the road to human rights has no end, only constant efforts and progress. Even if we are persecuted, Dr. Hong urges us to speak up and peacefully demand government reform in the spirit of loving the country and the people. Just like this moment, I'm using the power of the internet to speak internationally about the bloody religious persecution tragedy. Just like everyone who participates in and listens to this online forum, we all share the same beliefs, believing in this path of human rights and believing that with our efforts, the world will become better and better. Thank you, all fighters, for continuing to fight together.
Thank you, Loan. For many of our younger Dizi, the Taijimen fabricated case has gone on for longer than their own lifespans. It must be very traumatizing that while in Taijimen, you're taught to treat everyone with kindness and respect, but outside, the media and the government officials try to portray it otherwise. We'd like to continue our seminar with our next speaker, Mr. Brian Kung, a lab assistant at the San Antonio Regional Hospital in America. Hello, Brian. Brian, you're muted. Brian, can you hear me? Can you please turn your sound on? You need to unmute first.
Hi.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. I am a Taijimen Dizi, Brian Kung. In 2011, I joined Taijimen. I had left shoulder joint pain issue and easy to get fatigue before joining Taijimen. It has greatly improved since joining Taijimen and practicing Qigong. In addition, my physical stamina and sleep quality has also greatly improved. Practicing Taijimen Qigong helped me to improve my physical and mental health. I work in local hospital as phlebotomist. Patients call me a vampire or needle guy. I was terrified when COVID-19 broke out last year because I had never seen anything like this. I saw many COVID-19 patients in the hospital, and generally all the medical staff were terrified. Fortunately, I joined Taijimen to practice Qigong, which is strengthen my heart, lungs, and breathing functions, as well as to boost my immunity. To find spiritual support, I went to the Taijimen website and watched the sharing videos of brothers and sisters from medical field in the energy family. I joined Taijimen Academy in Los Angeles, California. Taijimen is a decent group of Qigong, martial art, and self-cultivation academy. It was illegally liberated by Taiwanese tax official. I didn't know much about the Taijimen tax case at first. I heard many scholars from Taiwan and other countries speak at various legal and tax education forums. Taijimen case has received international support and many scholars analyzed. And the injustice of the Taijimen tax case has gradually become clear. Over the last 25 years, all of the brothers and sisters have worked tirelessly, fight through legal action to vindicate Taijiman's test case. Taijiman's test case was initiated by Taiwan prosecutor Ho Quan-Lan. He worked with Taiwan's government at the time for his own future and reputation. The government used religious anti-criminal to carry out judicial and tax persecution against Taijiman, first suing for legal violation and then gathering evidence. The Taijiman case is a good example of persecutions of several religious groups and minority religious groups at the time. Since the Taijiman founded in 1966, there has never been a tax problem. Prosecutor Ho Quan-Lan filed an illegitimate lawsuit against Taijiman in order to show off his reputation. He first sued Taijiman for raising a goblin and then such a Taijiman academics for evidence, but all he found was a peach swordwood. In traditional Chinese culture, the peach swordwood is used to kick away evil spirit and attract blessing. Prosecutor is being aware that the reason for the prosecution or raising a goblin could not be established. So Ho Quan-Lan framed Taijiman as a cram school with a tax evasion. He even illegally transferred the case to the tax bureau and issued a tax bill. In order to convict Taijiman, the prosecutor used a false evidence. After 10 years and 7 months of trial, first, second, and third trial, and extensive investigations, Taijiman was finally judged a not guilty verdict and no tax owed in 2007. And the verdict clearly stated the gift given by the Tiji to the Sifu were gift in nature and not taxable under the Taiwan tax law. The National Tax Bureau, however, did not let Taijiman off the hook, continuing to issue illegal tax bill and illegally auction off the Taijiman Holy Land in August 2020. Taijiman Sifu and Dizi have spent a lot of manpower and resources to fight the illegal tax collection over the last 20 years. The Taijiman case may be resolved if they reach an agreement with the Taiwan Tax Bureau and pay the tax bill. However, the Sifu used his own life to teach his teachers what is right and wrong, true and false. The Sifu is fighting injustice for these illegal prosecution, and he rather insists on the truth and never compromise to evil. The Sifu has led his Dizi on 5 continents over the years to promote love, peace, and conscience. He has taught his Dizi to recognize the difference between true and false, right and wrong, good and evil, and to have a conscience. The Taijiman tax case is not only a tax lesson for Taiwan citizens, but it is also a good human rights lesson for the rest of the world. I am willing to stand up for the Taijiman case vindication and will continue to participate in the tax reform movement. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brian. And even through these 25 years of persecution and injustice, Dr. Hong has always taught Taijiman Dizi to treat the world with love and to listen to our conscience. Because our conscience is our guide, our moral compass, and our ethical handbook. It is what teaches us to be able to separate right from wrong. And on July 25th, 2019, April 5th was declared as the International Day of Conscience in the United Nations to remind leaders of the world to lead with conscience and also hold their government officials to the same standards. And we have a video on the International Day of Conscience we want to share.
Conscience is the origin of all beings, the fire of life, the source of goodness, and the pivot of peace. Since the COVID-19 crisis, the world has experienced the biggest challenge since World War II. We need the power of conscience more than ever to rebalance our world.
The day of 5th April, from now on,
the United Nations declared April 5th as the International Day of Conscience in July 2019. Since then, FOPAL has engaged in various events to promote this day and inspire conscience-driven actions. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, FOPAL has started to hold virtual events to emphasize the importance of conscience and work together with people around the world for a peaceful and conscience-guided world. Ever since the first International Day of Conscience, over 22 virtual events have been conducted in celebration of various United Nations days with an emphasis on conscience. These events have been live-streamed on IC Day's YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. To date, IC Day has attracted over 3.3 million views worldwide on its social media platforms. Not only have civil society organizations actively promoted the International Day of Conscience, the United Nations system also highlights its importance. The Executive Board of UNESCO, in its Decision 209-X29, requested the Director General to mark the International Day of Conscience to be held annually on the 5th of April at UNESCO headquarters, Paris, and in UNESCO field offices with the participation of member states and other partners. We are very glad to have many influential leaders joining our IC Day events over the past year, injecting powerful positive energy into our planet to stabilize the world. We are thankful to United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres for sending us his video messages in support of our events. We look forward to a more successful year ahead. Let's continue to spread the message of conscience to every citizen and every corner of the world. With conscience comes a peaceful world. With happiness comes joyful families.
We must remember that only with conscience can we save the world. Today, we heard the tragic tale of the Taijimen fabricated case and the story of 25 years of endless injustice and a total collapse of the Taiwanese judicial system with no due process and no accountability of government officials. We heard about the persecution and the pain and suffering of numerous Taijimen Dizi. But for our future generations and their future generations, we must still believe that we can achieve justice, and we must fight for this better future. I would like to take a moment to thank all of our friends who we have met in this arduous journey for your continued support and for your work across the globe regarding freedom of religion and belief. We wish that in our future friendship, we can work together to resolve the Taijimen fabricated case and all other human rights abuses in the world. To all of our participants and viewers, I wish you a steadfast and courageous heart in your fight. Farewell, and may we meet again in a happier occasion. Thank you.